Man dies in a car accident and explosion, but the next moment he wakes up again. He finds himself back on the bus. At first, he thinks it was just a dream, but the pain in his body tells him the dream was far from simple. He soon calmed down. The memories in his mind started to become clearer. He noticed that the girl sitting next to him had a familiarity, so he tentatively asked if they had met before, faced with such a simple question. But the girl didn't answer straight away. Instead, she thought for a moment. She said something strange.
也进来了。
进哪儿？
It turned out that they had entered a cycle, and excited and explained to her. She had already been through the cycle 7 times, as soon as they died in the explosion. Then they'd be back to a few minutes before it happened, and up until now, they were the only 2 who could retain their memories. The others are like computer players, but Mike is a high school student. How could he believe in such nonsense? But just then, he recalled his last memory. Everything came back to him. He realized that it wasn't a dream he'd had. It was a real thing. His first instinct was to ask the driver to stop and let him out, but this game is not that simple. No matter how much he asked, the driver was unlikely to comply, and the bus has reached the intersection. 30 seconds before the explosion, Mike frantically pounds on the door, trying to open the door with violence. He goes for the driver's steering wheel again. A passenger immediately pushes him to the ground. By this time Annie was ready to explode.
放我，我要爆炸了！你要爆炸？那你炸给我看看。
The cycle begins again. Mike doesn't want to listen to Annie. Immediately he gets up and starts his next move. He tries to open the door with the panic button, but Annie had already tried that. He thought to himself, what did I do to deserve this? It didn't work. Undeterred, Mike looked hard for a way out. He went to the window and tried to open it and jump out, but the window was locked. He saw the escape hammer in the car. Maybe that's the only way. He sneaked up to it. He took it off when no one was looking, but he didn't realize that this had set off the car's alarm. The passengers were in a frenzy. Mike didn't have time to explain. He slammed into the glass, but before he could jump down, once again, the fierce man overpowered him. By now, the bus also arrived at the crossroads. Annie told him, even if he got off the bus, it was useless. It was time to die. She asks to hear the logic of the cycle first on the next cycle. As the explosion ends, the 9th cycle begins. At this point, the 2 finally start to work together on the logic of the cycle. Annie had made it out of the car once before, but then she came back here. And even if they did, they probably didn't. Maybe they were trying in the wrong direction. Annie guessed that, if they wanted to get out of the loop, maybe there was no need to get off the bus at all. She had figured out why the bus exploded. Every time she entered an intersection and waited for a red light, the driver would encounter the delivery boy who ran the red light, and then in a panic he would crash into the subject's tanker. Then it would explode. Everyone gets blown up to start the cycle, assuming the driver could have avoided the crash. Then this explosion would not have happened.
有道理。
The 2 men came to an understanding, and then they began their plan. Annie faked a heart attack to create the appearance of an emergency, to get the driver to slow down, so that they could miss the red light, so they wouldn't meet the tanker. But fate has a way of getting in the way. The lady next to her happened to have a quick-acting heart pill with her.